What's up, nerds? Seth here to help you level up your fandom. Today we're going to be molding and casting one of these secret wood style Deathly Hallows pendants. Alright guys, first things first, you're going to need a pen blank. This is a piece of purple heart. You can buy these at woodworker stores. They're very cheap. You can see this one was $1.50 for this 5.5 inch chunk of purple heart. So what we're going to do first is make a mold of this. And the reason I want to make a mold of this is, one, because a mold of a nice sized rectangle is infinitely useful. But two is I want to be able to just cast these secret wood pendants in place. So what we're going to do is take this blank, we're going to measure it, find the halfway spot, mark it, cover the entire thing in tape to make it all nice and smooth, plop it into a mold that we're going to make, pour some silicone over it, and then once that's cured we'll pull it out, cut this blank in half, and then we'll have two halves that we will then break into quarters so they have this nice jagged edge. And then we're going to take those quarters, each wood piece, and put them on the outside edges of our silicone mold and then fill the center gap with epoxy. Once that's cured, we'll pull that whole piece out, cut it in half, and then we have two wood pendants that we will polish up and deal with then. So let's get started. cover my block really easily. And I've got this jiggly mold. And I don't know if you'll be able to see in this view, but it's extremely smooth on the inside, which is very helpful. Plus, being Umu 30 is very soft, which means it's very easily contorted, which is good because that means when we replace the piece, this half, we can rubber band the mold around it to kind of squeeze it tight to make sure the epoxy doesn't seep all the way in and around the block of wood. So tomorrow morning, once it's obviously not nighttime, that's what we're gonna do.
8 hours later.
All right, nerds, today is tomorrow. We've got our pen blank and our mold. We're going to cut this thing in half, and then we're gonna break each half into quarters, and we're gonna try and mold up some sweet stuff. Sure if I want to take this tape off or not. This bench, this drill press vise is the only vise that I've got. So I think what I'm going to do is leave the tape on to cut it and then pull the tape off, stick it in here between like maybe some of these blocks like this, break it, and we'll move from there. Noticing an issue with using one of the densest woods I know of, which is Purple Heart, and that is it doesn't like to break. It just likes to crease in where there's pressure. So I'm gonna have to try something else, something a little bit more dangerous, I think. I gotta be honest with you guys. I knew Purple Heart was really dense, but like, wow. Broke my vise, trying to squeeze it. I bent the arm on my vise, trying to squeeze it. Broke a clamp, trying to smash it. I've hit it as hard as I can. And I know that this is really short, so it's gonna be hard to break. I knew that, but like, I didn't realize it would be this hard. This is bananas. I'm out of ideas. I think I need AVE in his crazy hydraulic press that he fabric-cobbled in his garage. I don't have anything like that though. Okay, I've got another idea. I'm gonna start by just cutting this little piece in half and then we'll go from there. Now, as you can see, my cement patio here is very rough, so here's what we're gonna try. Dead blow, pliers. We're just gonna lay that on there. Try and pound in some grain, weird patterns here. And you can see how dense this stuff is. It doesn't, almost nothing happens when I hit it. it's time to pour some resin. I'm just going to use what's left of my testing resin, which I've been testing another project that you guys will see. We're only gonna pour half of this, and then I'm gonna lay in those 2 Deathly Hollows, let it dry, and then we'll pour the other half on top of that. I'm gonna put that one in there, and then I'm gonna wait a little bit to let it cure up a little bit more before I put the other one in, just to experiment, see how it works out. More dry. Yeah. Cool. As you can see, that surface tension is a little high, which is good, because that means I'll be able to sand that nice and smooth. All right. Good and hard. Let's see what it looks like. Let's see how we did. Oh, that is satisfying. It ran underneath quite a lot, and it's actually, this bottom layer is still a little bit tacky, which is unusual, but the effect is actually really cool. And also the silver, I made the backside of that one silver, doesn't really come through. Looking at it, it just looks like uncolored paper. You can kind of see the reflection in the camera, so it kind of looks silver, but in reality it just looks like uncolored paper, which is definitely unfortunate. So I'm inside my room because it's rainy and cold outside, and because it's so cold, that actually lent itself to lots of bubbles in here. Definitely not a clear cast, even though I torched and heat gunned it and stuff, but it's largely because the weather was so cold that it more or less prevented the bubbles from being able to come out of this epoxy cast. So what I'm gonna do is cut this in half, and then we're gonna sand all of the flashing off the wood here, square everything off, and then hit it with some micro mesh and polish everything all up. Well, there you have it, guys. Finished up. Now, from what I learned in this was my first molding and casting in epoxy resin. What I learned from this is two things. First of all, I cast this when it was far too cold out. I mean, it's 35 degrees out right now, but I cast this when it was only 45 or 50 degrees outside. I did bring it inside, but it was far too cold to cast this, which is why there's all kinds of bubbles in here. Not a very clear casting because I didn't cast it at the proper temperature. Secondly, my micro mesh are sponge pads instead of flat pieces of paper. So because of that, as I was sanding, I tried really hard to do light pressure and stuff, but inevitably, because it's a soft surface, these corners got a little bit rounded. So it's not quite that perfect square. It's not really anything that you can really notice. You can see the lines. You can see the lines are quite square. It looks really good, but it's not as good as it could be. Other than that, the only other thing that I learned was don't use Purple Heart. It looks really pretty once it's all oiled up. It does look very pretty, but holy crap, you cannot break it. I tried so hard to break this thing. In the end, it still looks really good, and the bubbles, I think, add quite a lot to that edge where it meets the wood, which I think is good. But yeah, and this was silver, which obviously just looks white now, which is frustrating, but whatever. It was trying. Got the normal black, but it was actually silver, not just white. But it looks really good, if you ask me. I am quite happy with it. It didn't turn out how I wanted it to, but it did turn out really good. It's cold. I'm quite happy with it. So, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, guys. If you liked this thing, hit the thumbs up, share it around with your friends, show them how easy it is to actually do something like this. It's shockingly easy. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of the stuff that I'm making, and I will see you guys next week.